Thursday was the deadline to file bills for the upcoming session, and eCapitol News Director Shawn Ashley joins us to discuss that. Now, you heard in his report, the Restore says right now we don't need more legislation on criminal justice reform. But do you think we'll see that in this upcoming session?
Oh, I think we certainly will. A number of lawmakers have been talking during the interim about various ideas for criminal justice reform, and we have seen some bills filed that deal with the issue. One of the big issues, of course, that was left unsettled was bail reform. And a bill carried over from last year could be taken up again this year, as well as new legislation could be molded to address that issue. So more than likely, it's something we'll see in some form or fashion throughout the legislative session.
Okay, so all told, how many bills have been filed this year, typically get filed, and how many really get serious consideration and become law in an average year?
Well, 2,100 new pieces of legislation were filed for consideration. Those are bills and joint resolutions that are subject to deadlines. You know, at the end of the session, it tends to vary. Governor Mary Fallin saw just over 400 pieces of legislation land on her desk annually, and she signed the bulk of those. Governor Kevin Stitt, in his first year, saw more than 500 pieces of legislation land on his desk. He signed 515 of those. So there will be a lot of bills that fall by the wayside by the end of the legislative session, but still a good number land on the governor's desk for the governor's consideration.
It's been 5 years since a person has been executed in the state of Oklahoma. One lawmaker says now's the time to do away with the death penalty. Tell us about that.
Jason Dunnington has filed a bill which would eliminate the death penalty as an option for punishment in the state of Oklahoma. You asked a moment ago how many of these bills get serious consideration. I really doubt his bill will be considered. But that's often the case on bills that bring about changes like this. It's filed one year and doesn't make any progress, and then it's filed another year and perhaps gets a hearing but doesn't make it to the governor's desk. What we have seen in other states is that very same process, that it has taken those who oppose the death penalty a number of years to get that measure on a governor's desk, and in some cases signed, in other cases vetoed. This is probably the first step for Representative Dunnington in that effort.
General Revenue Fund, where are we standing right there?
Well, for the first 6 months of the fiscal year, it's right about equal to the estimate. And that's important because the estimate is the limit on which lawmakers can make appropriations. According to the Board of Equalization and the numbers they were presented in December, we're expecting those numbers to tail off a little bit as we move through the second half of the fiscal year. But it is supposed to be well within the cushion that is reserved in order to prevent a revenue failure.
Okay, great. Thank you, Shawn.
You're very welcome.